Okay, now every modeller, everybody who does any kind of model set work, that is, railways, plastic airfix kits and so on and so forth, is probably going to need some kind of small little toolkit. Now, obviously, if you've already got tools that you use for DIY, you can probably use some of those to a certain degree, but things like the pliers, for example, might be a bit too big, and you may not necessarily have a dedicated cutting tools that are perhaps quite small enough and fine enough to actually get into all the awkward places. Same with things like tweezers and so on. There's even just slightly off centre here a little bit of a file that you can see, and I've got some files, okay, some stuff to help whittle down, smooth that down surfaces and so on and so forth, but they are massive compared to the models or even the items that they're intended for. And while I do have things like sanding knives and so on and so forth, something about me is just a bit of a completist enough to want to have the right scaled equipment for what I'm wanting to do. So I know this wasn't in the preview video, neither was the Lego Airfix kit I just showed last week either, but this is something that is very much essential for, things like the Spitfire and the Hurricane that I put in the preview video. So what is it actually like? Let's just take a quick look over here. Nothing really interesting here, although it's a Hornby product, 18 plus. We do have very strict knife laws in the UK, and something like this would probably be counted under those laws because of the potential danger of somebody going around with it. That's essentially a scalpel more than anything else. Although I think they're referring to it as a craft knife. But yeah, for all intents and purposes, from what I understand, it's really a scalpel, similar to what you would find a surgeon using for surgery. In fact, it actually looks quite similar to what the Terminator uses in the first Terminator movie when he's fixing up his arm and removing the damaged eye that's never going to heal. Let's just see, is this going to open easily? No, it's quite sealed up. You can tell I never bothered to pre-cut things. But that does actually open fairly easily. That seems to be stuck in. Yeah, there's little plastic tucking bits at the side there just to help hold it in place. But here we have the file. And just from a point of view of the construction itself, it does have some bend and some give in it, which you'd expect really. If it's too solid, then it would probably break and snap and twist off. You could possibly even use that to file your nails. Not that I'm into filing my nails, but it's something that some people obviously get up to. Yeah, I'll need to cut that down to size probably, won't I? We have some tweezers. That'll be rather good for picking up any stray parts that might have gotten loose, or even holding things in place as you're trying to glue them together, which does tend to be needed somewhat. Now the pliers, well, they're interesting. They come with their own additional cover, so you have to squeeze them together like that to get that cover off. Excuse me, I've just had a bit of a case of gas going, so I'm getting a bit funny in the throat. And yeah, we've got spring-loaded, quite small. Oh, excuse me. Quite small. You can see they're sort of not quite lost in my hand, but I'm not quite getting all of my fingers on them, but yeah, it doesn't make any difference. What's it like for cutting? Oh, quite good is the answer. Except the second cut doesn't seem to work. No, wait, it does work. It's just the first cut must have been really brittle, on a really brittle bit of plastic, but yeah, you can see straight away it does do quite a bit of good cutting work there. I cut all the way through. Let's just, yeah, it cuts quite nicely, but it's obviously not meant to act in the same way scissors do. Let's just put those back, safety first. Yep, brilliant. And of course, to cut across the scalpel itself, that actually comes, okay, so that's more of a rubber protective case, and this is a plastic casing, which is actually specially designed to fit this perfectly, like a glove, or a scabbard, or a sheath, or whatever the proper term is, and of course the autofocus doesn't want to know, but... Right, had a bit of an unintended jump cut there, the camera just stopped recording for some reason. Don't know why, it just did. So I had to actually reset my DSLR. Yeah, I know that sounds weird, but there you go. Anyhow, maybe it just didn't like the scalpel. But the autofocus seems to be working quite nicely at this point. That looks like a number 11 on the blade. I have no idea what that actually refers to. Is there anything on the instructions here to give me any inclusion? No, it just basically gives instructions about how it's not to be sold to persons under 18 years of age, to avoid injury, keep the blade out of the reach of children and animals, take care when using the blade at all times, use of safety goggles is recommended, and it's made in China. And it repeats itself in various different languages. So, yeah. One thing I just realised, it says made in China here, but then it also says www.humbrol.com. No idea who they are. If I bothered to remember to look them up, I'll put some information on here on the stream. But right now, I thought it was a Hornby product. Is it actually made by somebody else? And just marketed by Hornby, sold third party through them? I don't know. The actual shaft feels hollow. That's something I've just noticed right now. It doesn't... Oh, hang on a sec. Trying to prove something's metallic is hollow and hitting it with something plastic doesn't really work, does it? Not really getting that ringing sound. It just feels hollow. It's very strong. Is it something I can... Oh yes, I can unfasten. You can unfasten it. That's presumably so you can replace the blade if the blade itself gets damaged. Let's just be very careful. Yeah, you can see a screw thread. And down there you can see that it is indeed hollow. Right. So, quite a nice bit of construction there. That goes together quite well. Now with blades, don't hold blades like how I'm doing it. I've managed to not cut myself, which is in itself a miracle. Let's just see how well this thing scores quite nicely. But yes, it can indeed poke through, but cutting downwards, it's... Oh, yeah. As long as you don't poke too far through, it goes through quite nicely. So that, if you can hear me over the sound of the plastic, that works quite nicely. No damage to the edge, as far as I can see. So that's in pretty good condition, and it obviously works rather well. So, there we go. I can hardly recommend this set based on these little tests that I've done so far. Let's just try something else. Let's see how well these pliers, these tweezers rather, actually pick things up. That's one thing I didn't really test properly until now. And yeah, they do provide quite a lot of stability here. Not sure if they'd be any good for doing things like plucking stray hairs out of bits of your skin that you don't want stray hairs coming out of, or dealing with eyelashes, but obviously it's not really designed with that intention. And this is a very nice idea what they've done with this little sheath. That works quite well. But this is supposed to be from Hornby, and it is made in China. I do know Hornby have a lot of their model engine kits and whatnot actually made in China. In fact, I think it's the same factory that Bachmann make their train sets as well. Who knows, maybe it is, maybe it isn't made by them, maybe it is third party by Humbrol.com. I don't know, I still haven't looked them up at this point because I'm still reviewing the product. Or rather, I was, because I've just finished. Bye bye!